right, folks, good evening and welcome to the opening race here for the Mr. Shift Racing League. This is our first of 27 races we will be covering here in 2017. We will be kicking off, of course, just like the Monster Energy Cup Series did here at Daytona International. Joining me, as always, is my partner in crime, Alan Schoen. How you doing tonight, buddy?
You know what, Art? I'm doing really good. I'm looking forward to seeing a new league here ripping down 150 laps here at Daytona.
It's definitely going to be one of the good, nice long races. So everybody grab some popcorn, something to drink, kick back and relax because we've got a lot of racing here tonight. As Alan said, 150 laps. They run 3/4 distance of the actual races, 75% fuel, one quick fix. So that's actually a very good thing, seeing how, given the distance that they will be running, that I know like how I've run the NISs this past week at Daytona. I really wish I could have used a quick repair during one of those, but it gives you the hope and the contention that you can get back out there and salvage more positions, seeing how you do have such a long distance to go. I mean, 150 laps around a 2.5-mile track, that is a very, very, very long time. I know, even though I've got a very comfortable seat, although it came out of an 82 Mustang GL for my race rig, I was still pretty sore after the end of the NIS. I can only imagine that these guys are settling down, they're hunkering in and getting ready for a long span of intense concentration and the high speeds that Daytona is famous for.
Yeah, and you know what's going to be interesting here as we're kind of watching these guys out in practice is, um, our other two leagues that we cover right now are both K&N series. This is the Class A series for iRacing, which would be the Gen 6 cars. So these cars are a little built a little different, and they definitely draft a little bit different than the K&N cars. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. 150 laps, 3/4 fuel load. They're probably going to be turning, I would say, somewhere around 30 to 32 laps on a fuel load. So we're going to see a lot of pitting, hopefully under green flag.
I think the biggest thing to really address is the drafting. Even though these cars, like all the other classes in iRacing, have gotten a low downforce package, it doesn't appear that the low downforce has really hurt the Gen 6 cars, because even in the NIS fix that I did, we were still pushing 204, 205 miles an hour into the corner in a decent sized pack. So it's right along the same speeds we were seeing with the K&N cars. It's just so much more impressive to see the K&N car, which is normally 180, 190 mile an hour car at best, doing almost unrestricted speeds with a restrictor plate on it. So the speeds are definitely going to be a factor. Fuel is going to be a factor, seeing how it's limited to 3/4, and tire wear is definitely going to play into effect, seeing how this is a daytime race. So you can see right now, the air temp outside right now is 70 degrees. We have a 10-mile-an-hour wind coming from the east. Humidity is at 40%, mostly cloudy, so it's not really going to be too bad as far as tape-wise. The speed should be pretty decent. Let's go ahead and check the track info, and we'll see about some other nice little gadgets that we've been working with lately here now with ATVO, seeing how we've made the swap over from IR TVO to ATVO. There we go. As you can see now, of course, Daytona is a 2.5-mile track, 4 turns. Track temp right now is 80 degrees, which is almost, I would almost put that as Antarctica. It's slightly a little bit above, because in some of the B races we ran, we saw track temperatures of right around 66 to 76 degrees, and the cars were just absolutely insane. But that was a nighttime race, but still 80 degrees for a daytime temperature, that's a pretty cold track.
And as we've switched over from practice to qualifying here, we'll see what these speeds start to bring up.
Right now we are watching the 18. He's going to make his way out onto the track around, and let's see what he can turn for a first lap here. Rocking the Dale Jr. Tax Slayer paint scheme, Aiden Kohler Jr. So 189 coming to line is very respectable for the fixed setup. Right now that is going to score him in the second position right now. As we all know, during qualifying, since this is qualifying, we will see the drivers' names move around quite a bit, as right now the 24 has the pole. Right now our pole is a 47,583. Our new pole sitter right now will be Gary Sexton with a 47,294. Carl Shedd is going to be our second place right now. He ran a 47,298, which is only going to put him 4 thousandths behind the pole. And then third place is 8 thousandths, so very close times there. At this time, we are going to ask everybody to please rise, take off their hats as the U.S. Army Marching Band brings us our national anthem. All right, as they roll off, we will get the grid going here.
All right, guys, it does look like our starting grid overlay is broken at the moment. I will get right on that and try to get it straightened up for next week. Unfortunate that that happened, but we are going green flag here as the cars roll up to speed.
As they barrel out of turn two, they are 2x2. We see, as always, there's going to be a little bit of a backpack forming, but now we see them getting into organized double file lines here. So as the opening lap here at Daytona comes to a close, we've got the 17 right now. He's on the bottom line. He's going to more than likely lead this lap, as we've seen, especially with the fixed racing. The inside line seems to be the ticket here. Unless you can get a lot of cars that stay locked bumper to bumper on that upper line, the inside line tends to move a lot better than the outside. right now. As to be expected for a plate track, we see that the bottom line definitely is the favorable line right now. As we're going to see the 85, he's going to duck down. Looked like the 8 was trying to make his way down there, could not quite fill the hole, so he's going to drop further back until he can either get caught up by the outside pack or find a hole to drop into the bottom side. But it is only coming to lap 4 here, so there's still plenty of time. It's nothing to be worried about right now. In fact, usually a lot of times in the official series or when I league raced, I used to drop to the back on plate tracks. As we see the 8 now make his way down to the bottom groove. They're going to stay single file for the majority. Field still being led right now by the 17.
Yeah, well, it does look like the front pack is organized. Oh, we got contact in the backfield there. Everybody keeps it straight and they keep rolling. But as I was saying, the front field is pretty well straight. And the back side there's about 7 or 8 cars that are double file.
I think a lot of them are just experimenting too. I think they want to see if they can get together with a couple guys that'll get out there and they can be able to push and run. But this early on in a race, I'd expect to see more single file racing. That way the speeds stay up, and with the gap that they've got over the second group already, the more cars that stay in a straight line, the faster they're going to pull away and the more that they're going to be able to advance position and start putting cars a lap down to keep others out of contention.
As we're still running pretty much single file here, coming down the backstretch of Daytona down into turn 3. The 17 is still out in front. He's kind of just enjoying that clean air right now.
Nice, huge single file pack here. It's exactly what I love seeing here at Daytona.
I don't expect that to last too awful long here. I mean, these guys are just kind of feeling out the car right now and figuring out where they're going to run and who they're going to run with. So, I mean, as laps start winding in and everybody starts feeling a little more comfortable, I believe we're going to see a little bit more 2-by racing.
Right now we are looking at your leader right now, Gary Sexton, as he is going out of turn 2 right now at about 199. We saw him around 202, 203 as they head down the backstretch, and even 200, 201 miles an hour, just under 9,000 RPMs as they make their way into turns 3 and 4. Out of the corner we saw 200, and then obviously we'll see probably anywhere between 200 to 205 as they start getting the cars lighter and lighter and lighter the speeds will start increasing here. Seen a lot of cool paint jobs here too that I like. A nice old Rusty Wallace throwback there on the one car. Got another throwback Miller car. Chase Elliott Napa car. I've run against a lot of those in the official series. Seems to be the most two popular drivers you'll see is either Chase Elliott or a Jeff Gordon scheme or a Dale Jr. theme or a Dale Sr. theme. So like Earnhardt, Gordon, pretty much the two most synonymous paint schemes that you'll ever see. As we can see, the main pack here has put a good distance on the second pack. As we see towards the back of it, they are now starting to try running double file. As we watch the RPMs here on the second place car of Brian Johnson, he's turning pretty much the same RPMs right now. It's going to be a balance seeing how they are single file like this. They're not necessarily pushed too far up on each other, so overheating won't exactly be an issue as of right now. They're kind of evenly spaced out enough to where if a car did start getting warm, there's plenty of space to the right or the left where they could easily breathe the cars. I think with only 14 laps in the books right now, everybody's still playing it very, very cautiously and just minding their own P's and Q's. And as we can see, this lead breakaway pack has definitely shown that they can run single file, they can hold consistent times, as you can see right now between the 17, the 28, and the 1. They close up on the backstretch just like you'd expect, and then in the corners they give each other a little bit of slack there so they can breathe the cars out. So everything I'm seeing right here is exactly what you want to be doing, especially in these Gen 6 cars, as far as keeping the car cool. They're staying on the bottom line, which is the fast line, and most importantly, they're staying nice and orderly nose to tail.
Also, to note, there is a group back there from 17th position on back to 24th is about a full straightaway behind everybody else. They're kind of not organized, and they're just kind of running their own race back there. Be interesting to see if those guys may be trying a fuel strategy or maybe a pit strategy here in this first race.
You see the 28 has gotten shuffled out. He might have gotten the car a little too warm or gotten up out of the groove a little bit too much and got forced out of the racing line, so he's going to have to ride that outside line until somebody either cracks the throttle for him to drop back in, or he's going to have to recycle to the rear end of this lead pack.
As he ducks back in front of the 50.
Almost looks like Hendrick's teammates right there. Was an old Dale Jr. Mountain Dew paint scheme and the Chase Elliott scheme. We had two Hendricks boys back to back.
Looks like we got two cars from the back of the pack here, going to go too wide, and well, we're going to bring the 9 along with them here, and they're going to try get an outside line running 3 cars deep, as the 9 just doesn't appear to have quite enough to keep up with them.
That 9 car is rocking one of my all-time favorite paint schemes to the old Coors throwback paint scheme. That's definitely up there on the list of my favorite ones I've seen on Trading Paints.
As the 50 joins up here with the 22 and the 48, the 17's outside as well. They're going to gather up. Looks like we are going to get a outside line work in here and get some too wide racing.
And given that these cars are running 3/4 fuel, I think this outside line forming right now is basically they just want to get as far ahead of the field as possible. That if we do stay green flag for the first set of pit stops, that they can advance as far to the front of the field as possible. Because as we've seen in other leagues, when you see the first set of cars start peeling down pit road, it usually turns into a mass exodus of cars that are just going to start flooding pit road for green flags, which most times we see happens in a nice orderly fashion, but occasionally we do get somebody that either misjudges the speed coming in or the speed of the car in front of him or the car behind, and we do get the occasional pit road incidences, although they are becoming more rare. So I think the driver awareness, especially during a green flag state coming up on a pit stop, I think they've really tightened their belts down on that and have really learned to use a lot of heads-up driving, especially making their way on the pit road. As we see, the 17 is now going to go up and join the outside line. It's all about keeping the momentum here. We saw Kurt Busch do it in the Daytona 500. We've seen Dale Jr. do it at Talladega. We've seen him do it at Daytona. It's all about making sure that you're not only putting 110% if you're leading a particular line, but you also have to keep an eye in your mirror to make sure that outside line isn't going to get the advantage, and if it does, that you have the proper time to react to it and be able to jump up to that other line to keep your momentum going. As we see, the 17 is going to drop back down now, so obviously it's just a battle of, can you stall out the upper line to kill the momentum, or do you go up there and take advantage of the speed? Right now, as a leader, you kind of want to keep it balanced. You want to stay with the speed, but you also want to try and prevent the outside line from becoming the predominant line and overtaking you.
As it does appear, most of that high line has started to dissolve. Everybody's getting back in single file again.
As it's pretty much to be expected, as we are now coming to lap 22, we are still, once again, very, very early here, and I'm not going to go into the whole monster thing with the stages and all that. That was absolutely the worst thing I've ever seen NASCAR pull out, is breaking a race into segments. But we are 22 laps in to this 150 lap race, all green flag laps so far. Hopefully we will get to continue this nice stint of green flag. So with 150 laps going, and we're only on 22 going to 23, I think we're going to see single file for quite some time. We won't really see 2 or 3 wide until probably the closing laps here.
Overall, it's been a very clean race so far. Everybody looks like they're just trying to give everybody a little bit of room to maneuver their car around the track, you know. Everybody makes a mistake now and again, so if you give that driver a little bit of extra room than you normally would, you avoid having the dreaded cautions constantly here, and possibly avoid the big one.
I think you might have jinxed things. Anytime anybody mentions the big one, it usually tends to happen. So let's take a lap around the track here with your leader. This right here is exactly what I love seeing.
Looks like we're going to have the 8, and I can't see that car number, dang it. In the 23, working the outside line again. They're trying to get out there and maybe cool their cars down. Maybe try to get a form line up again and make a run towards the front.
I love being able to utilize all these different cameras. As right now we can see the 22 right against the back bumper of the 17. I don't know why they consider this the gearbox camera. This should be like the rear bumper camera, but it's just so awesome to be able to show you guys how these cars close in and exactly how well they perform in the draft. All right, and it seems through driver communications, we might be looking at our first green flag pit stops happening right around lap 30. So as we're on lap 26 right now, less than 5 laps, we should start seeing cars peeling down pit road to take their first of at least 3 to 4 stops to make it the distance here at Daytona. And we're going to go to arguably one of the best cameras ever created by any broadcasting network. We are going to bring the crank it up. So turn those speakers up because it's about to get loud. And I love hearing these engines roar. Absolutely love the Crank It Up camera, especially some of the innovative ways they've done it, buried embedded cameras on the walls, in the tracks. Of course, we have the roof camera, we've got the rear bumper camera. There's just so many different places that allow for so much better views of these cars and just different change-ups that you can see, like the rear cam, the front, suspension. I remember back in the day when they used to have, I believe it was the Nashville network that used to cover the Winston Cup Series. They used to have a camera that was mounted on the rear truck arm, and they would show the suspension travel of some of the rougher tracks like Rockingham when they used to run that. As we see, green stop pit stops are on going right now. This is the lead pack coming down right now. them start to make their way down here. See if we see some tire takers or not. See right side's up on the 1. Left side's up on the 28. Right side's up on the 17. A lot of 2-tire stops. Some 4 tires, fuel down and away. We will continue as more cars are making their way down.
Man, there's a lot of 2-tire stops going on, and to my surprise, there's a couple of guys that are taking 2 left sides rather than their 2 right sides. So, a little strange there, but hey, maybe it'll help.
Which actually, it's not really that weird, because believe it or not, during one of the NISs, I actually took left side tires instead of right sides, and it seemed to work really well, especially since I was running the high side the majority. It seemed that the insides were getting worn more than the outside. So a left side tire change isn't really too all that uncommon here at Daytona.
Well, and again, it's going to give you a little bit quicker pit time this early in the race, whereas the tire carrier and Jackman don't have to run around the outside of the car. They just got to jump over the wall and they're right there. So
brings it down to the most crucial part too of that pit stop, if you do elect to take left side tires only, is making sure that you hit your marks inside the box just right. Because if you get that car too close to the wall, how is your tire man supposed to get in there, or the jack man supposed to get in there and lift the car up so your tire changers can get in there, and the fuel man as well, even though he can pretty much just stand behind the pit wall and just reach over and fill the car up. But it's mainly, you got to get that car as best squared off inside the box as humanly possible. And I've also noticed too, and maybe just a little quirk with iRacing, but it seems that if you can get your car dead center in the box and actually have the nose of your car hitting the lollipop, which for those of you who don't understand what that terminology is, each driver has an iRacing official who stands in front of their pit box that has the sign for them to stop. That is what we refer to as the lollipop guy, and the sign he is holding is the lollipop. So what we've seen and what I've been told, and I've actually tried it out in official races, that if you can get your car nice and square in the box and have the nose of the car just touching the stick on the lollipop, you are more than likely going to pull off a faster pit stop than if you were to just pull square in your box or to be a little bit further to the right or to the left. I don't know why touching that stick makes so much of a big difference, but it's the difference between making an 11.9 stop versus, say, a 12.3 or a 12.5. Right now we do have a new leader after these pit stops have made their way around. We have Charlie Sanborn in the number 1 as your leader now. We can see that the top 5 are grouped up nicely in a pack right here, so there's not really going to be too much of a time difference between 1st and 5th right now. We can see right now it's only 0.3 of a second. You see the 17 car, who was our leader going in to the first set of green flag pit stops. He is going to cycle back down onto the bottom line. As we have a new leader, the 28 now is going to go ahead and lead that lap, but he steps to the outside, and we're going to see the 1 come right back in. As we see a little bit of an apron hook there. Good job saving the car, brought it up to the top side, but he was able to hang on to that ride and not take it slideways through the corner. right, as we are working lap 36 here, we are still green flag here at Daytona. First sets of green flag pit stops have happened. We are going to take a brief commercial break and then we will return after that. And right now, we have switched over right now. I know it's weird seeing the DieHard logo up there. We have switched over from ATVO to IRTVO, and right now we are working to resolve the technical issue. I don't know why. ATVO was working flawlessly earlier today, and now all of a sudden it decides it wants to give us all kind of fits. So we are working on it as fast as possible to get things fixed here.
As it looks like here, we're focused on the leader. We're running 2 wide, about 3 deep here. The 50 car is out in front, taking the lead. You got the 1 in the 45. Looks like the 45 is going to leave the 1 out there by himself. The 17 is going to duck in as well, so the 1 is left high and dry. He's going to have to drop back. As he does manage to find himself a spot in line there in front of the 17. So as it stands right now, in first is Howard Windell in the 50 car. Second place is going to be the 48 of Ryan Steinacher. Hopefully I don't butcher you guys' names too bad, but you can correct me later.
Alan's got a bad habit of doing that.
In third in the 28 car, we're going to have Brian Johnson. In the 45 car, we have Carl Shedd. He's in fourth. In fifth, we're going to have the 22 car of
Loose out of 2.
Loose out of 2. I'm sure that's probably not the proper name.
In 6th place, we have the number 1 of Charlie Sanborn. 7th will be the 17 of Gary Sexton. 8th place, we have the Sarge. 9th place, the 94 of Curtis Young. 10th place, the 101 of David Gainforth. 11th place, the 10 car of Ken Richardson. 12th place, the 8 of Nick Crawford. 13th, we have the 85 of the Professor. 14th is the 18 of Aiden Kohler Jr. 15th to 24, Joan. 16th, we have the 43 of Major. 17th is the 14 of Gary Weston. 18th is the 4 of Jonathan Eason. 19th, the 88 of Noah Lewis. 20th is the 9 of Glenn Fetty. 21st, we have the 3 of David May, who is down 1 lap and actually has just now gotten his lap back the hard way. 22nd, the 70 of Stripper Glitter. 23rd, the 7 of Jake Dorton. 24th is the 11th of Glenn Manning. 25th, we have the 25 of William McMillan. And 26th, the 2 of Jonathan Wall. It appears that technology seems to be against everything, as we have lost connection to TeamSpeak right now. Technology is definitely not in our favor, so I think Monster has kind of jinxed everything.
All right, I don't know if you can hear me over here. I have no connection to their TeamSpeak server at the moment.
We're trying to get the TeamSpeak connection resolved here. I think they might be having some technical issues on TeamSpeak's side. As we are still trying to reestablish a connection here at TeamSpeak. We will definitely be spending the next entire week ironing out any other further bugs that we will see during this race happen, because everything was working perfectly in a test that I had done earlier to ensure that we would have no technical issues. And now it seems like technology as a whole is failing, as TeamSpeak is still down. We've got logos that should not be where they're at for particular things. Right now, it's almost like the Russians have hacked us. Taking a look right now at the number 1 of Charlie Sanborn. He's doing right around 200 miles an hour, as is Brian Johnson at 201 right now. He is currently your 2nd place car. Charlie Sanborn, meanwhile, right now is in 5th. He has led 4th. He has led 9 laps. He started 5th. As we see a little bit of network connection going on there. Saw a car briefly for 1 second, and there was just a shower of sparks going on. As we have reached the 1/3 mark next time by. Still green flag the entire way so far. Right now the 50 of Howard Wendell is still your leader. He is being pushed by the 28 of Brian Johnson. '45 of Carl Shed in 3rd place right now, being pushed by the 48 of Ryan Steinacher. Once again, I apologize if I butchered that name. In 5th, we have the 17 of Gary Sexton.
Art, I don't know if you're over here. I have no connection to their TeamSpeak, bud.
Right now we had to switch over to our own TeamSpeak right now so we could communicate back and forth with our other broadcasters here. So right now we are still experiencing a heavy. We're experiencing heavy technical details right now. Apparently the Mr. Shift TeamSpeak has gone down right now, so I don't know if there's any race communications. We will forge through the technical difficulties nonetheless. Hopefully this will be a one-time occurrence and the rest of the season will go off without a hitch. There's one thing that you can always expect, as we always say with plate track racing, and that is to expect the unexpected, and we have definitely encountered that tonight. Right now, I am still monitoring the other. Oh, and we've got a car around. I don't know if the yellow flag is going to come out on that one, as he did take it hard to the inside. I do not believe there was too much contact with the inside wall. Green flag stays out. So it appears there will be no caution from that single spin there. It looked like it was just a bump draft gone wrong. Hopefully we will be able to reestablish a connection to the TeamSpeak server. That way we can do our post-race interviews, because what is a broadcast without interviewing at least the top 3 in our hard luck and a hard charger? So we're 56 laps in, and we have seen green flag conditions since the initial start of the race, which is an amazing thing to see here, especially with the Nextel Cup cars. I refuse to call them by their new name because it's just ridiculous, but We'll go with the Class A Cup cars of the Gen 6 cars, which sounds a lot better. Right now it is Ford and Chevy dominating the top 5.
And as we are coming up to lap 60 here shortly, I'm thinking we're going to see another round of green flag pit stops here right shortly.
Which right now that would actually probably be a good thing, seeing how the field is very spread out. Right now you can see basically the top 5 has broken away from the rest of the field right now. Your top 5 right now consists of the 50 car of Howard Wendell being your leader. Second place right now is the 28 of Brian Johnson. Third place is the 45 of Carl Shedd. Fourth, the number 1 of Charlie Sanborn. And Gary Sexton in the 17 is still holding down your 5th place.
As we have the 50 and the 45 coming down pit road now, looks like the 22, the 1, and the 17 all dove down real quick.
So as always, we will cover the green flag pit stops here as we see our lead pack coming down right now. The 50 is in his box, 28's in, the 45 is in, the 1 is in, the 17 is in.
The 4 and the 48, they're on their way off pit road right now.
See left sides on the 17.
22, the 50, the 1, the 17, and the 9 are all headed off.
I do believe we'll start seeing a lot more cars coming down pit road here too shortly.
And that's the 3 car down and away.
We see more cars slowly making their way onto pit road. We will continue our coverage right here from the Daytona pit cam. Right now your leader is the 91 car. as we see most of the cars have already made it down and away. After that set of pit stops, it'll shuffle things out right now that the 28 of Brian Johnson is being scored as the leader according to IRTVO. We have to wait for the timing loop to catch up here. There we go. Now it's popped up to the correct order. Your new leader will be the 28 of Brian Johnson. The 50 of Howard Wendell will take over second place. Carl Shedd will still be your third place car. Gary Sexton in the 17 has moved up to fourth. And Charlie Sanborn in the 1 machine will round out your top 5. The Sarge in the 91 is 6th. Curtis Young in the 94 7th. Number 10 of Ken Richardson in 8th. The 8 of Nick Crawford sitting in 9th place. And the Professor in the 85 car is going to round out your top 10. Once again, all of us here at DieHard Live TV apologize for the technical issues that are going on right now, but it is not just on the broadcast, and it is also on TeamSpeak, as I've just gotten word that they're discussing it right now in the driver chat that the TeamSpeak server has crashed. So right now we do not have any audio link to them. We are running right now on our own league channel right now to keep the coverage going so we can stay informed back and forth between me and Alan as far as what's going on here on track. As we are working lap 65 of 150, we are approaching the halfway mark soon.
And I have to commend these guys here. It's a long time to wheel this Gen 6 car around the track. At 65 laps of straight up green flag racing, we have seen 0 cautions.
And to compound it, having the technical issues like TeamSpeak going down, that is a very big thing. A lot of people don't realize just exactly how important TeamSpeak is when you are league racing, because if you are like most leagues, there's separate channels for different teams, and that is your main link of communication to the other drivers that you are working with. That way that you don't have to broadcast what you're wanting to say through the sim channel so everybody can hear it. That way you don't give away, say, like a pit strategy or whatever. Not having TeamSpeak available is a gigantic blow, seeing how you basically have been cut off from your teammate, other than if you are able to. Like some drivers can. I don't know how the hell they can pull it off, because I certainly can't do it. I cannot send text messages or private messages while I'm running a car around a track, especially the A car like this, other than looking like I'm drunk on the backstretch while I'm trying to single-handedly type out something to somebody because communication has been broken. But it's very, very hard to race with your team when you can't communicate.
So it appears as of right now, we're 67 laps in, getting ready to turn 68. And, I'm sorry, we are at 68, getting ready to turn 69. We've completed 67. Out of 150, we've got 11 lead changes so far. Zero cautions and 0 laps at this point.
I totally forgot. We have that graphic here right now, even though it does get covered right now by the DieHard Live TV logo. But 68 laps complete, 11 lead changes, 0 cautions for 0 laps. Right now, your leader is the 28 of Brian Johnson. I'll go ahead and pull the RPM bar up again. As we can see, it is just pegged wide open. Just under 9,000 RPMs. Now, you got to figure 70 laps into the race now. With that RPM range staying, that motor's been screaming at least 8,500 RPM for 70 laps constant. The biggest thing that I think in motorsports that's never mentioned is the motor builders. They're the ones that are tasked with the daunting task of having to build a motor that can withstand the RPM range that we're seeing right there. As you can see, that tack is just lit fully red right now. That he's redlining the motor, and each one of these cars is expected to make 150 laps under this condition here. So that's just a overwhelming show of how strong these motors are and exactly why you need to be able to step out like we're seeing the second place car do right now. He's breathing that car. He's keeping his car cool because you have to watch not only your water temperature, but you also have to check and monitor your oil temperature too. There's 2 separate demons that'll come out and haunt you, and one or the other, if it starts flashing, you've literally got probably about 10 to 15 seconds to get that thing cooled down, or you will terminate that motor.
No, the term is not terminated. It's
grenade. Detonate, grenade, frag, blow up, race car, or whatever. It's not good if you don't breathe these cars, but we're seeing this front pack here doing an amazing job in doing so, all keeping their cars nice and cool. They're staying off of each other enough to where they can keep their cars in position on track to where they're still in the draft, but they are keeping their cars nice and cool. Right now I am showing 14 cars on the lead lap from 15th on back to 22nd place. They are all 1 lap down. 23rd and 24th are being scored right now as 2 laps down.
And that is a subject of something went wrong in my pit stall.
Yes, it is. I can personally vouch for that because I distinctly remember during, I believe it was the Open NIS, and it was the one where I had done the left sides only, that the tires were a little bit greasier than I thought, and when I stepped on that brake pedal, all it did was, it seemed to go faster with the brake than it did with the throttle, so I overshot my box a little bit, which thank God the person, actually the other 2 cars that I was pitting with, they also did the same thing, so we were able to leave pit road and get grouped up very quickly. But if you do make just a small mistake of overshooting your box, being too far left or too far right, that's the difference between staying on the lead lap or getting trapped a lap down, as we're going to be coming up on 1 lap shy of halfway, and we have been green flagged the entire way here at Daytona with Mr. Shift Racing League. this time by at the stripe will be halfway. We have gone green flag since the drop of the initial green 75 laps ago, and it's looking very good right now that we have the possibility of running this race the entire distance green, which is something that you rarely ever see with these Gen 6 cars, because especially with the fixed set, sometimes I know a lot of different drivers will use different steering ratios because you're given multiple ratios that you can run. At a plate track, I always run an 8-to-1. As far as like intermediate tracks or basically intermediate to 2-mile tracks, anything under a super speedway, I'll usually run probably a 10-to-1, sometimes a 12-to-1. And then obviously at a short track, I definitely want to run an 8-to-1, as we will be covering pretty much the entire NASCAR season, as this league does follow the NASCAR season. So we will be going from Daytona here next week to Atlanta Motor Speedway, which is a 1.5-mile track. So we will definitely see something going from more so of a draft-dependent track to more of a rhythm track. As we all know, especially those who have raced the A car this week in the official series, that car is extremely loose on the fixed setup, especially coming out of 3 and 4. So it's definitely going to be a driver skill and a rhythm track. You've got to find what's comfortable for you and get into that rhythm as fast as possible. The tire wear is definitely a factor at Atlanta. Not so much here at Daytona, because you're literally in a high-speed game of follow the leader right now. It's going to be interesting once we start getting into the smaller intermediate tracks, and then when we do go to tracks like Bristol and Martinsville and Richmond, to see how these cars react on a much shorter racing surface and having a large field. We'll be seeing lap traffic being a huge factor, as right now we're seeing the lead pack is catching up to some lap traffic. They're going to try and put them down even further.
And you know, Art, really got to commend these drivers. I mean, you're looking at 24 drivers that started the race. We've gone 78 laps. You know, that's a long time to keep going and not have a caution. You know, give you a chance to kind of relax your hands, your feet a little bit. You know, these guys are doing a running really well lines and driving really good tonight. So I'm looking forward to broadcasting this league. Hopefully next week we get all the bugs worked out and things will run a little smoother for us and them. And I mean, just amazing job by these drivers.
I can definitely attest to that. I don't know if any of them are suffering from any of the symptoms like I had. I know for the longest time running the NIS, I had both feet crossed over the gas pedal, and I was alternating between which foot was the one that was pushing it through the floor. My feet were going numb, my butt was numb, my back was numb, my arms were killing me, my fingers, I think, had turned whiter than a sheet for quite some time for death gripping the wheel. So it's a huge testament to these drivers as we come up on lap 81 to still be green flag, and just the overall smoothness that we've seen. We have not seen anything other than what appeared to be a bump draft gone bad through the tri-oval, sending one of the cars off track, which did not bring out a caution flag. So once again, hats off to these drivers, and we will work as hard as we can to make sure that we bring you as high of a quality broadcast as possible, as I second the notion that I extremely look forward to working with this league for the entire 27 race season. Is if this race right here is any demonstration of what we are going to see over the course of the year, because this series, starting as of tonight in February, does not end until Homestead in November, so we will be carrying them all year long. So if they can continue to do what they're doing tonight all the way through November, this will be hands down one of the most impressive acts of driving. As we see a car hard off track I don't know if he got a piece of the inside wall there or not. And he did, but once again, we don't see the caution flag out as he did go off to the inside, so I do believe we will stay under green flag conditions. It just looks like he might have got a little loose or got pushed out coming out of 2, and the car just shot a little bit to the left. Couldn't get it wound up in time and made contact with the inside wall very hard. We saw the car spun around, and from what I could see, it did not appear that he had a front clip on that car, so that would be indicative of a very hard hit to the inside wall. So as we take lap 84 here, not much has changed. The top 5 right now, your leader is still the 28 of Brian Johnson. Second place is still the 50 of Howard Wendell. The 45 of Carl Shedd is still your third place car. Charlie Sanborn in the number 1 is still in P4, and Curtis Young in the 94 is your 5th place car. The 17 of Gary Sexton is your 6th place. 10th, the number 10 of Keith. Oh my God. I'm getting technical difficulties with myself now. Ken Richardson is your 7th place car. The 8 of Nick Crawford is being scored in 8th. The 85 of the Professor is being scored in 9. And Jake Owen in the 24 will round out your top 10. I see we've got the Professor. We need the Skipper. We need Marianne. We need Gilligan. And then we could all have a great TV show. And Ginger, too. And the Millionaires. All right, after that lead pack made it around that group of cars, now there are 10 cars remaining on the lead lap. 11th place on back right now is being scored a lap down.
And here in about, I would say, 6 laps, we're going to start seeing the start of green flag pit stops once again.
Which will be our 3rd consecutive set of green flag pit stops, should we stay green. Well, the good news is that car right there that's on the outside line is the one that we saw that got shot out of turn 2 to the inside. It does appear that he has a nose on that car, and it does not appear to be too heavily damaged, so maybe he can hope that the yellow flag does come out and maybe be in contention for the lucky dog spot, although right now it does not appear that that will be the case.
And that would be the 91 car. As he was way off pace there.
That would be the Sergeant right now. He is being scored in 24th position, down 3 laps. So right now, if the caution was to wave, your lucky dog would be the 9th place car of Jonathan Eason. So now we are working lap 90 here. The laps are really whittling away here. I know we've said it before, but I cannot help but keep repeating it. Amazing show by the drivers here as they're just laying down an absolutely blistering pace right now. 90 green flag laps with the Gen 6 car is something that I have never seen in my entire iRacing career. So hats off 120% to these drivers for the amazing display. As we see, green flag pit stops are going to start taking place now.
Yeah, I got the 8, the 10, the 7. Those guys are all leaving the road. Wow, that guy was right sideways.
We got a couple of them in the grass and a few little mishaps here, but other than that, it seems like it might be the combination of these tires. We see everybody kind of overshooting their box.
The one car just barely dives in front of the 47 as the 47 was trying to exit.
See, the 28 is down and away, the 45 is down and away, the 1 is down and away. That's gonna shake up our top 5 a little bit, but that is to be expected seeing how we are still under green flag as we see more cars trickling in there at the entrance to pit road. We will continue our non-stop green flag pit stop coverage here. That will cycle out another round of green flag pit stops here at Daytona as we are working lap 92. Good news is we have finally worked out the TeamSpeak server for Misshift is back up and running, so we will, provided that it does stay up, we will be able to give the post-race interviews here. So thankfully, technology is starting to come around now. Right now, the way it shakes out after this round of green flag pit stops, the 94 of Curtis Young is being scored in first place. The 17 of Gary Sexton has made his way to second. The 28 of Brian Johnson is third. The 45 of Carl Shedd fourth. And Charlie Sanborn on the number 1 ride is your P5 car. The 50 of Howard Wendell is being shown right now in 6th position. As we see, Curtis Young is making his way down pit road, I do believe, unless he's getting passed by the other cars, because he has now been moved down to P3, which I do believe would be correct because I know the 17 and the 28 were hooked up together, so that will put the 94 on his way back down.
No, the 94 is in position 3rd. Yeah, the 94 is actually in 3rd. The 22, the 4, and the I think that's the 10. Those guys are all off pace there on a different lap.
This is one of the beautiful things about non-stop green flag racing. You get the lap cars mixed in with the lead lap cars. So even though it does appear that the 4 car right there you can see would look like he is in 3rd place, he is in fact a lap down. So you can go ahead.
That's the 101 car, not the 10 car I was counting a lap down. Sorry.
As we continue through the field, 6th place will be the 50 of Howard Wendell. Nick Crawford in the 8 ride will be P7. Ken Richardson in the 10 car is 8th spot right now. The Professor, who we still haven't seen Gilligan or the skipper anywhere here, and now he is in 9th spot. Joe Owen in the 24 will round out your top 10. Going further down the list, first car lap down will be the 4 of Jonathan Eason. He is 11th place right now. The 88 of Noah Lewis is 12th. Jake Dorton in the 7 is 13th. Gary Weston in the 14 is being scored in 14th place. Loose out of 2 right now in the 22 ride is in 15th. David May in the 3 car is 16th. Major in the 43 car is 17th. David Gainforth in the 101 is being scored right now in P18. The 70 of Stripper Glitter is being scored in 19th spot. Glenn Fetty in the 9 is 20th. The Sarge in the 91 is being scored 21st. Glenn Maring in the 11, 22nd. Aiden Kohler Jr. in the 18, 23rd. Ryan Steinacher in the 48, 24th. And William McMillan in the 25th being scored in 25th. He has made it back out on track. He is 75 laps down. And Jonathan Wall right now in the 2 is being scored in 26th. All right, folks, once again, it is time to make sure you go ahead and turn those speakers up as loud as they go, because we are about to crank it up again.
As we're going through, crank it up here, watching these cameras, look at the tack on these guys. I mean, they're just blistering that 4 engine. I mean, I don't know how much longer these engines are going to be able to take this. I mean, I don't know what they're running for current temp right now, but I'm turning 8750, 8700 RPM straight all the time. It is really cool.
I can tell you one thing, if it's a Chevy motor, it's most likely a Hendrix engine. If it's a Ford motor, it's either a Roush, a Penske, or a Yates motor, and if it's a Toyota, it's a JGR. We get a nice little clip there from our good friend Digger there at the start-finish line. And again, here as they go into 1. And now we ride on board with the gyro cam. I'm almost starting to question it myself, as Alan had pointed out, with these motors turning the amount of RPM they have consistently for such a long period of time. It's almost mind-boggling to think that these engines are built to withstand this type of punishment.
I mean, they're pushing 200 plus miles an hour here for most of the track. I mean, I'm looking at them coming across the start-finish line here, 201, 202, 203. And this is a third-place car back there running that fast, so... Or, third car in line in 11th position. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the 4 car of Mr. Eason.
And we are now under 50 to go now.
The race is ticking by pretty quick. We're looking at 203 miles an hour entering that corner.
This single-handedly has to be the fastest Daytona race I have ever been a part of, whether it's been broadcasting or racing. I have never seen drivers who have been able to click off laps as fast as these guys have been doing. To think that we are only an hour and a little over an hour and a half into this broadcast, we are already down to under 50 laps to go. That is just an amazing feat by these drivers here. And honestly, right now at this point, I wish there was more to talk about. But right now, it's kind of just watching this lead pack right here as they absolutely dominate the field right now.
I'm taking a look at Gary Sexton here, the number 17 car. His fastest lap so far has been a 44.273. That is smoking around this track.
That right there is almost identical to the lap times that we were turning in the Open Series. So that just goes to show, if you know how to draft very well, like these guys are showing that they can do extremely well, that you can achieve speeds with the fixed setup that you can get with the open sets. But with this being a plate track, it is 100% dependent on the draft. And the fixed setup just adds a nice little safe buffer in there so everybody's on a level playing field. They all have basically, it's almost like the IROC, the old IROC series, the International Race of Champions. Everybody had the same car, same motor, same transmission, same everything, and it came down to just who was the better driver, which honestly I think that was one of the best racing series that was ever broadcasted on TV. They ran third gen Trans Ams, Camaros, which is actually really cool to see IROCs out racing on the track, and then to see them later replaced with the Formula Trans Ams. You saw the likes of anybody inside the motorsports world, whether it be NASCAR, Formula One, IndyCar, anybody who participated in motorsports and was a champion at their particular racecraft was invited to the International Race of Champions. We saw Al Unser Jr. in it all the time, Mario Andretti, Dale Earnhardt, all types of people. It doesn't matter what form of racing you came from. It was just so cool to see all the different flavors of racing all on the same track in identical vehicles.
So kind of just looking back through the field here, Art, I'm sitting here on Carl Shedd, number 45. He's sitting in fourth position. He is 9.4 seconds behind the leader. So there is a very large gap from third to fourth on the track here. He's also got the...
he's got the one behind him.
Number one in the 50 with him. So, if these guys can kind of group up a little tighter together, they may be able to run that lead pack down as the laps start winding down here. I would be willing to bet. We saw pits last around lap 92, so that is looking at if they keep on pace at 30 laps, they should be pitting here in the next 10 laps, which should allow most of them to run to the end.
And looking at the scoring gap between them with the 45 to 1 and the 50, they're now 10.2 back. I honestly don't think they are gonna be able to keep the pacing. How as the front three here are nose to tail and they're gaining more and more lap cars with them, the more cars that pile in behind these leaders here, the faster they're going to get and the harder it's going to make it for the 4th, 5th, and 6th place cars to gain ground on these guys. I think it's ultimately going to come down to the last set of pit stops, what they're going to do strategy-wise, whether they're going to take no tires and just fuel only which I'm willing to throw it out there that more than half of these drivers are going to take just fill it up as much as they can, get on and off of pit road as fast as possible, and I don't think we're going to see that many, if any, tire changes going on.
Yeah, I don't see tires going on the cars. I mean, give me enough fuel to get to the end. But looking at this, that second pack back there, they're still falling off. But looking at their speeds, they're anywhere between 5 and 8 miles an hour slower than that lead pack, and they're only turning about 8650, 8700 RPM.
And that definitely does throw the lap cars, adding to the speed of our lead cars right here. That's definitely going to show that the more you can streamline together, whether you guys are on the same lap or not, as long as you guys stay nose to tail, you're obviously going to stay faster, you're going to be smoother, and undoubtedly you're just going to keep gaining and gaining and gaining. Because when we first reported on it, they were only 8 or 9 seconds back. They're already now approaching the 13-second behind mark. So the longer this stays green, I just do not see them being able to gain enough ground with 40 laps to go right now. And with the lead pack coming up on another group of cars, if these 3 cars here group in behind the lead pack right here, that's just going to add more momentum to the front pack and make it almost virtually impossible to where it is 100% going to come down to your final pit stop.
Yeah, they're definitely going to have to nail that pit stop. They're going to have to get in their box square, get it down, get it stopped. Don't slide through your pit box, guys. That's a worst case scenario. You're going to be on old rubber, tires are going to be slick. Get it in there, get the fuel in it, get it back out as quick as possible.
I think that's going to be the hardest thing for these drivers to do too, Alan, though, is if they do just fuel only. Most of these drivers we've seen throughout the race have only been taking 2 tires, so everybody's pretty much going to be on cords basically. So getting on the pit road, they're going to have to probably under speed on pit road just so they do not slide into their boxes or slide through them.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a hard stop for these guys. If it's me, I'm just going to try to get down pit road, get it stopped. I don't know what these guys run for equipment over here in this league, but if I had to guess or imagine, a lot of these guys are probably running direct drive wheels. Maybe 2 or 3% of them are probably running a direct drive wheel. So those guys that are running direct drive are got to be extremely tired at this point, because that wheel just puts so much force on your arms.
And I think you just stumbled on one of the biggest factors to point out, that most of us, well, I mean, it'd be almost stupid to try and iRace with a joystick. The majority of them, I've seen a lot of people still are very faithful to the old Logitech G27, the old Driving Force GT, the Thrustmaster wheels. Myself, I ran a G27 for the longest time until the optical encoder decided it wanted to go out, although it did put in 6 or 7 faithful years of me beating the living crap out of it. So that definitely, it had a good life. I've since replaced it with the G29, which is a belt driven, but it's still motor assisted. So it's got a little bit more feedback to it. It's a lot smoother. And the biggest thing that I've noticed with making the switch from the G29 and the 920, which basically is just the difference between the 29 being the PS4 wheel and the 920 being the Xbox One wheel, is that with it being motor driven and belt drive versus gear driven like the old G27 with dual brushed motors in it, that I can feel when the front tires lose grip. My steering wheel will go slack for a second, and I can feel the car slide up the track while I'm seeing it happen. And then as soon as the tires start grabbing traction again, I've got feedback in the wheel. And at the same time, when the rear end loses grip, I can feel that through the wheel as well. So it may not be as big of a deal as like people who are on club sports or OSWs or AccuSims, any of the high-end rigs, AccuForce, excuse me, like all the very expensive top dollar, like main performance pedals, all that stuff, Fanatec, V3 pedals, V2s, CSR Elites, all that stuff. It all comes down basically to how much you want to race, how much you want to invest into it. Because I know myself personally, I've got probably at least $4,000 invested between my rig, my computer, all the stuff that goes with this. We see some green flag pit stops going on right now. It all comes down to pretty much how much you love racing, number one, and how much money you're willing to throw into this sport. Because, I mean, we have to pay a yearly service fee to even race here. To run a league, it costs money. We have to pay for all the content, for the cars, the tracks, all that. So factor that in on top of whatever your computer is. Then whatever you have for wheels, pedals, shifter, all that stuff. I mean, I know I've got a button box and everything assigned for like all my pit macros and all that stuff. There is a ton of money wrapped up into sim racing. It is by far not a cheap hobby to get into, but if you're truly a motorhead like myself and like these guys right here, it's money well spent. With 33 laps remaining here at Daytona, I expect to see that lead pack coming down here probably within the next 3 to 5 laps, just so they can make sure they got enough fuel to run it to the end.
Yeah, we've got a couple of guys coming in now. Looks like they're short pitting. I don't think they're going to have enough to get to the end at this point. I really think they've got to get under that 31 laps to go line.
If it was me right now, I would not be pulling my car into probably at least 30 laps or less. That way I know I've got A, the weight in there to compensate for whatever the tire wear is that I have, and then B, the longevity and being able to make it to the end of the race. And if for some circumstance I have to get out in front of a car in order to make the group faster, I definitely want to make sure I have enough fuel packed in that car to where I can be out there, because the lead car in a pack is going to be the least fuel efficient car. The most fuel efficient one is going to be in a 3-car pack, it's always going to be the middle car, because he's got the buffer of the car in front of him cutting through the wind, and then he's got the car behind him who is also getting rid of that turbulent air that forms behind the rear spoilers of these cars. So the second car in a 3-car group, and then if the larger the group is, any car behind the leader is going to be more fuel efficient. And sometimes we see in other leagues, we'll see them leapfrogging, and they'll take turns leading. That way, if somebody isn't going to have enough fuel to make it, he'll step out, let somebody else get in, and then he'll drop in behind so he has enough fuel to make it to the end of the race, which a lot of the times it does boil down to that, as we see a lot of cars peeling off right now for green flag stops. We still have not yet to see the lead pack come in.
Yeah, they're coming down this time by Art.
So right where I would be pitting at, which would put it at 29 laps remaining, we will see our leaders coming down pit road. And we will do a continuous green flag stop coverage on them when they do make their way out of turn 4 and make their way onto pit road.
You know, a lot of these guys are reporting that they've got less than a gallon of fuel left in the car right now. They're pushing it to all they can to make sure they get to the end of the race here.
As we see our leaders there making their way onto pit road, they fanned it out nicely so nobody made contact with anybody. We see some tire changes going on here, right sides. 4 tires going on right now for one of them, the 17 of Gary Sexton. He's in his box. See right sides going up back there. 17 is going to take right or left sides in fuel. So interesting to see. We see somebody, as we call it in iRacing, spraying for skeeters. He's coming down pit road. That motor has finally found out exactly how far it can go before it detonates.
That one is expired. I would say he probably shifted down too quick going down pit road and expired that engine.
All it takes is to already have a car that's hot.
Taken off, so I don't know what we just saw there, Art, but he was smoking pretty bad coming down. He changed 4 tires, got fuel, and he is down and away.
So right now, your race summary, we have 121 laps in the books. We've had a total of 15 lead changes. And I think what everybody needs to note, the most important, 0 cautions for 0 laps.
Unbelievable.
And right now, your top 5 will consist of the 94 of Curtis Young, the 17 of Gary Sexton, the 28 of Brian Johnson, the 1 of Charlie Sanborn, and the 45 of Carl Shedd. And I think the one thing to point out there about the car that did have the motor expire is this league does have 1 quick fix, as we mentioned at the beginning of the broadcast. So that's why we saw the car smoking and he was able to get down and away. He still had his quick fix, as I'm pretty sure 99.9% of this field still has, because obviously 0 cautions. We are going to be coming to 26 laps to go, so that's not really going to hurt him much. He was able to use a quick repair and get back out on track and salvage as much as possible. And I'm looking right now at the live chat. We have our own Josue Tells from the DieHard Racing League in chat. What's up, Josue?
Unfortunately, he can't talk to us, but he can type. Nope, there's Cody giving us a thumbs up.
Yeah, I'm sure Cody's still trying to figure out if they have a middle finger emoji that you could do instead of a thumbs up. As we are in the final 25 laps here, this, I've got to say again, has been the fastest 150 laps around Daytona that I have ever seen in my life. This has been the most impressive show of driving. It's pretty much unheard of to see a race go this long without a caution, as Cody has managed to find the middle finger. Oh, that's awesome. I've always wondered if that emoji existed, and now we know it does.
So as we wind down the laps here, we're under 25 to go here at Daytona. It has been a long race, well, a short, long race. For the drivers, you know, sitting in there, running the car lap after lap, you know, they're ticking off laps at 45 seconds a lap here. Whereas, you know, under caution, you're looking at 2.5 minutes a lap here at Daytona. So, you know, you're looking at, in the time it takes to run a caution here, for 3 laps at 2.5 minutes a lap, you're able to tick off 10 laps under green. So, I mean, the race has gone really smooth. These guys gave each other plenty of room on the start. Now that they're spread out, they're just going to take it to the town.
Oh, and we got a caution on the track. That's definitely going to be a game changer here.
As I jinxed that one, didn't I?
Did somebody throw a garbage bag out on the track to cause that caution? As we see, our lead is going to get caught up by the pace car here on the backstretch. Right now, we are still trying to figure out what exactly tripped that caution. This will be the first caution of the race. Hopefully, that is not going to be the jinx, as we are at 22 laps to go. We have been green flagged nonstop since the start of the race, and now we are under our first caution. Hopefully it will be the only caution and we can wrap this one up under green flag.
Apparently, the caution was for a stopped car down on turn 4 that did not quite get off the track.
You figured one of the safety push trucks would have gotten out there and moved him, but then again, it's not very safe for one of the safety officials while cars are still doing 200 plus miles an hour around a track to go out there and assist a car back to pit road. So that's enough there to trip a caution, as we see. And I know I've said it a million times, it's so good to see the Mustang pace car back out, because we did have to deal with the rough pace car for a while, and that was the most hideous thing I ever saw. So even though it's still a Mustang, it's great to see the original pace car back out on the track. But even though it's still being driven by Jeff Badine. So this is actually going to make the race a whole lot more interesting now, as they're going to have to stack up double file on the restart. And now it's definitely going to come down to who have you been working with throughout the race that you know you can trust until the white flag, because then we all know when the white flag comes out, you have no friends. Well, you got friends all the way till turn 3 and turn 4, unless you can get a run off turn 2 on the backstretch. But it's pretty much all gloves are off and everybody's hitting below the belt once the white flag is out. As we see the field coming out of turn 4, we're going to see some takers on pit road. They are not lead lap cars, as right now there are 7 cars on the lead lap. That would be the 94 of Curtis Young, the 17 of Gary Sexton, the 45 of Carl Shedd, the 28 of Brian Johnson, the 4 of Jonathan Eason, the 8 of Nick Crawford, the 85 of the Professor, and that's it right there. That's your lead lap field. right now you got to imagine that a lot of these drivers are right now kind of possibly driving around with a different foot right now and one hand on the wheel or just an arm draped on it enough to keep the car turned through the corners so they get feeling back in their fingers or get the blood flowing back to their feet because they have been going at it non-stop for the entire length of this race up until the caution came out. So it's got to be a good feeling for the drivers and also a bad at the same time because they know now that everything's going to be double filed. As the lights on the pace car are out, they are going to double the field up and will be one lap until restarting the race. As the pace car is making its way into turn 3 for hopefully the last time, we will restart this race with 18 laps to go. Your leader is the 94 of Curtis Young. He's going to have the 17 of Gary Sexton on his outside. Behind him, he will have the 45 of Carl Shedd. Starting second in the outside row will be the 28 of Brian Johnson. Third car on the inside row will be the... Actually, I just got changed around. The 4 car will be second on the outside. As the pace car makes its way down pit road, green flag is out. Good jump by the 94. We are back underway here at Daytona. Hopefully, green flag until the finish.
As it has taken a long time for these cars to get wound back up. You know, we're only at 173 miles an hour. As we were before caution, we were looking at 200 mile an hour plus. So it'll take them till they get up into turn 3 here before the car is pretty much close to full speed.
And you got to figure, a lot of these motors are really tired right now. They have been running the Boston Marathon for way too many laps under red line conditions, so I wouldn't be surprised if just because the cars are being temperamental that it take them a little bit longer to get up to speed. But we see up front already the freight train is starting. We've got some on the back of this pack now that are still too wide, but up front it's going to remain single car.
Yeah, and I think those guys in the backpack there, they're just kind of searching for a hole to get in.
I don't know. I saw a couple of them. We did see the 17. He was actually able to make it around a car on the backstretch on the up to speed lap, and then he dropped back in. But I do believe you're right. We're just waiting to see the rest of these cars make their way into the bottom line and have one gigantic freight train of... God, I can't even tell you what the combined amount of horsepower would be with all these cars together, seeing how they're just under 900 horsepower apiece. As we are now 100% single file.
And the 3 car is going to join him outside there. Maybe they're going to try to get something going, but I don't think they have enough time unless they get more cars lined up. That's the 3 and the 88. If they get lined up, maybe get a couple more cars, they might be able to make something happen.
Well, they've got 15 laps to do it, so there's a long way to go and a short time to get there. See, the 24 is elected to hop out there to the outside line as well as a few other cars. So I do believe we're going to see a outside line forming towards the rear of the pack here.
The 24, the 1, the 88, the 3, the 43, and there is another car back there. That'll be the 25. Well, they appeared to start forming an outside line, but then they all drop back in line.
I think a lot of it is just gaining that little bit of momentum to get them ahead of one car in particular, that just to get them up in the right orders. We see the 10 was able to do it, the 24 was able to do it, and now we see the one car has stepped out. He's going to try it. The 10's back out again. With 13 laps to go right now and 7 cars on the lead lap. Right now, the 24 of Joe Owen is the first car a lap down. So he's trying to stay ahead of the 10. So in case the caution does come out, that the lucky dog will go to the 24 of Joe Owen.
And right now, leading this race, coming towards the closes, Curtis Young with Carl Shedd behind him in the number 4 car.
45.
45 car. And Jonathan Eason in the 4 car. Those guys are all right there on the lead, just waiting for somebody to make a mistake so they can get by.
But looking at the intervals between... Oh, we got another caution on the track.
The 88 gets into the back of the 10.
We'll go ahead and look and see here exactly what brought out that last caution. Do you believe it's going to be the 88 car getting into the 10, but we will see here. Oh, it almost looks like net code there a little bit. But it was enough to send him around and collect a few other cars, so... Unfortunately, as we've seen a lot with plate racing, cautions do breed cautions, so... We might have jinxed it earlier, and this might just be a race that started off and just carried so much momentum, so much speed, so much green flag action. Now we are working our second caution here with 11 laps remaining, 10 laps at the line. This is really going to make this restart all more crucial. You need to get, basically as Jeff Gordon had termed it, the restart of your life, which we all know Gordon was terrible at restarts. He was the first one to admit it. When he won the Martinsville race the year that he retired and made it into the chase for that race, he said that he had gotten the restart of his life. So pretty much that's what the 94 needs to do, is he needs to get the restart of his life and make sure that whoever's starting behind him is going to stay glued to the bumper of him as long as possible.
You know, and another quick note here at this league, it is at driver's discretion once the pace car pulls off when to go once he's in the restart box. Some leagues require you to wait until you're all the way up to the restart box and the green flag is running before you can accelerate.
So we see the one car getting a lap back.
The 43 is out there smoking on track.
I do believe he's got to stay out on track one more time. This time by he will be able to pit. Although I think I would have preferred taking the. I don't believe it is a green flag penalty stop. It's just end of the longest line for entering closed pits. I would have gone down there rather than stay out and spray the track with smoke and dirty up the windscreens of the cars behind, because I know that is a huge factor. As we are riding along in car with your race leader, you got to wonder right now what's going through his head with under 10 laps to go in this race right now. What exactly is Curtis thinking?
Kick the tires and light the fires. I'm out of here.
Well, I did see him go up there and make Jeff Bodine make the pace car go a little bit faster. He got up there and gave the pace car a little Tony Stewart push there. As we see, the lights are out, so we are going to be restarting this race with 7 laps to go. I know the pressure myself of being the leader with a handful of laps remaining and knowing that there's several other fast cars out there. There's a lot of pressure as a driver to make sure that you don't jump too soon, or you wait too long, or you miss a shift, or you just mistime anything.
And these guys' slogan actually is, if you've never missed a shift, you're not really racing.
Ain't that the truth? I've missed a few shifts in my day, and I think the worst one ever, thank God it was a Carb Cup, was at Daytona. I missed going into third gear at the line and blew the motor up on the start and wrecked the field. But that was a long time ago. As the pace car makes its way through turn 4 for hopefully the final time. The drivers are getting ready to wind the motors up one more time, hopefully, and get the first race of the season in the books as the pace car makes its way down pit road. Green flag is out. Nice start by the 94.
Yeah, he's gone.
All right, now we see a battle going on between the 4 and the 45, as that is for position. We now have 8 cars on the lead lap. Oh, 45 hard into the wall. He's going to be able to save it, though, and bring it down pit road.
Yeah, he thought he was clear, and he come down right on the rear quarter of the 85 there, and it sent him right back up the wall.
He could have been way worse, but he did the absolute correct thing as a driver. He brought it back up the track. Luckily, he was able to swing it down the track. There was a gap there, and we're still green flag. So that right there is definitely a good show of skill and racecraft right there. Something that could have sent us right back under yellow flag conditions ended up turning out the best way possible, even though it is going to severely affect the 45's start to the season here, as we are now 5 laps to go here at Daytona. Curtis Young is still your leader. Jonathan Easton has now taken over that second spot. Brian Johnson is in third. Nick Crawford in the 8 and 4th. The professor, who we saw further back in the pack earlier on, has made his way up to 5th spot. Gary Sexton in the 17 is 6th. Charlie Sanborn in the 1 is 7th. And Carl Shedd, who was our last car on the lead lap, is still on the lead lap right now, unless he has chose to retire the car. He is still being scored right now. All right, now he is being scored a lap down, so he will start losing positions to other cars. So there are now back to 7 cars on the lead lap, as we are coming to 3 laps to go here.
It appears most everybody is pretty well content to run this single file at the moment.
Now the $1 million question. Out of the front 4, who is going to work with who? Is it going to be the 94 and the 4? Or is it going to be the 28 and the 8?
Well, I'm going to say the 4 is going to swing wide and try to get around the outside. I think you're going to see the 28 duck low and stay with the 94, and the 8's going to go with the 4.
It's also kind of a little bit ironic that we have the 94 and the 4, and the 28 and the 8. It's almost like it was planned. It's undeniable. It's just we're seeing the same cars with one of the numbers missing. There'll be 2 laps to go this time at the stripe.
Faster than a cannonball. Someday you will find me caught beneath the landslide in a champagne supernova in the sky. Someday you will find me caught beneath the landslide in a champagne supernova.
All right, as we finish the race there, it does appear that
Apparently my computer decided it wanted to start playing some music for no apparent reason.
all right, Judd, this is Alan up in the booth. How you doing this evening? Looks like you
Hey,
brought it
Alan.
home third. What a race.
Wow, crazy.
Yeah, we've had some technical difficulties here on our end this evening, as well as it looks like the TeamSpeak server on your guys' end went down.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
we were sharing.
hopefully,
Yeah, we were sharing the open mic trying to get strategy done. That's not going to work real well, I guess. So, Kevin said he's going to take care of it. We'll be all right. You know, first race, I was rather surprised to be there at the end, but some good teammates tonight. So, apologize for my voice. You're lucky to even hear me right now. So, all good. Excellent night. Great opener. Fantastic race.
yeah, absolutely. 120 laps in before we saw our first caution. Multiple lead changes. You guys did a heck of a job tonight. We really look forward to ironing out all of our technical difficulties here and catching back up with you guys next week at Atlanta, and hopefully we see another good showing there as well.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Should be a good time. Excellent.
All right, Judd, this is our third place winner here. You got anybody you'd like to thank?
David May, Joe Owen, Gary Sexton, Rip and Eagle Racing, Of course, Mr. Schiff, Kevin Fetty, Mike Donahue, you guys are doing awesome. Look forward to a great season with y'all. Alan, I look forward to working with you, buddy.
All right, not a problem, Judd. We'll catch up with you again next week.
Sounds good. Thanks again.
Yep.
I'll start it. Hey, Curtis. Great job out there. You guys definitely impressed us up here in the booth with the extreme. I think that's the longest distance I've ever seen a Gen 6 race go without a yellow flag.
Yeah, that was a fun race. I think we went 128 laps, green flag, and yeah, couldn't ask for much better than that. And then we had a couple cautions, but it's to be expected when it's go time at the end of the race there.
Now, coming towards the final laps of the race, you were sitting right where you wanted to be. Walk us through the final restart and the last few laps of that race.
Well, the restarts, I pretty much just wanted to try and get a jump on everybody because I knew that, well, the outside line would probably get stuck, and then they'd probably single file out for the most part once those cars on the outside drop back. And I didn't really want to be in the lead coming to the last lap. Tried to block them as much as I could on the last lap there, but just couldn't hold them off.
Well, I think second place for the first race of the season. I know we have an extremely long season. We don't wrap up until Homestead in November. Second place has definitely got to feel really good for the start of the season, though.
Yeah, it's definitely a good way to start the season. Good points day. Led some laps. Didn't qualify the best, but yeah, led some laps, and second place finish is a good way to start off.
Well, congratulations on your second place finishes. Next week when we move into Atlanta, is there anybody that you would like to thank?
Just Kevin and Mike and Josh and everybody who's put this new league together. You guys at DieHard Live TV. Haven't seen any of your guys' stuff, but looking forward to watching the broadcast.
Oh, if it's anything like you guys put on tonight, it's going to be one hell of a season because this was absolutely the most amazing race I have called in a long time. So we will see you next week at Atlanta, and hopefully you can bring home the W there.
All right, appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
That was our second place finisher, Curtis Young. Alan, I'm going to let you bring our victory boy in here, and you get first crack at him.
Hey, Brian, how you doing? This is Alan up in the booth, man. You brought it home first place tonight. You know, it was a really long race. You guys ticked it off really quick. Good racing. Glad to see you bring it home in first place.
Yeah. Really long is an understatement. Man, I was about to fall asleep. But first, I want to apologize to you guys, broadcasters, and all the other racers. I know I was blinking earlier in the race. I ain't never had that problem before, so I'll get that checked out. But yeah, we had that like caution there, and with 7 to go, my buddy Nick, me and him were talking. It's like, how are we gonna get to the front? And yeah, the last lap, the guy in front of me went high, and I was gonna go low, but then got blocked and put it in the middle, three wide, and I didn't have any help. I didn't think I was gonna be able to pass him, but uh, got him by I think 200ths. So yeah, close race, long race. Yeah, these guys are fast. It's been an honor to race with them, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the season.
I know I've said it earlier when we were interviewing the third and second place. I have never seen a Gen 6 league run so many green flag laps, especially at a notorious track like Daytona. So that right there is hopefully going to be the sign that we're going to have an absolutely amazing season as it stretches all the way to November with Homestead. That's a lot of racing. You guys put in a ton of time tonight, and I can vouch 100% for your pain tonight after running multiple NISs during speed weeks in the official series. That your feet go numb, your hands start hurting, your back's sore, your butt's numb, everything. You're almost at the point of wanting to be like, oh, are we done yet? Can I hit the wall? Something. But to bring it home, opening race of the season in Victory Lane, that's got to feel absolutely amazing.
Oh yeah, that feels good. All the pains and the numb butt and the cramping left hand and all that don't matter. That's first place is it erases all of that.
Oh, there's nothing sweeter than victory. And next week we move on to Atlanta, which we know with the fixed set that coming out of turn 2 and turn 4, especially as the tires start wearing in, it gets very hairy. So it's more of a rhythm track versus here where we talked all night. It's a heavily draft dependent and definitely line dependent track. We're going to see a whole different style of racing next week. What are you going to bring to the table next week when we move on to Atlanta?
Man, I love those 1.5 mile quad ovals. Those are my favorite tracks. Yeah, if the track's hot and the weather's clear, it's gonna be hot and slippery. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I hope I can do well. Uh, yeah, these guys are really fast, really competitive. It's definitely gonna be a lot of fun.
You guys have definitely raised the bar on the Gen 6 racing here. I personally am extremely excited to see how the season is going to play out. Once again, congratulations on the win. Is there anybody that you would like to thank?
Yeah, I just gotta thank Kevin Fetty for and his people for putting this league together. Just fantastic group of guys, and definitely gotta thank Nick Crawford, my buddy there, for helping me out there at the end, and for you guys for broadcasting the race.
Oh, it was our pleasure to watch such an amazing show of racecraft, and we will see you next week in Atlanta, and hopefully you could string it back-to-back wins.
That would be nice.
Well, just another little feather in your cap there, Brian. Not only did you win the race, but you set the fastest lap of the race on lap 113 with a 44.085.
Yeah, I saw that when the little time there at the bottom right. I saw it. I was like, man, that's a pretty fast lap. Maybe that might be the fastest lap of the race. I was pretty doubtful at the time because we still had a lot of racing to do. But yeah, that's pretty cool.
Hell, that's faster than my fastest lap with the open set.
I don't know anything about open sets. I just do fixed sets. But yeah, that's pretty cool.
To turn that time of a lap with a fixed setup versus all the time that we put in building open sets, that is mind blowing right there. Because when I ran the open, I had a killer setup, and I think the fastest time we ran was I think it might have been a 43.9, but we were averaging right around a 44.1, 44.2. So that is absolutely incredible for a fixed setup to be so close to an open set time in an extremely fast room. So that is definitely a huge accomplishment right there to have. Not only the win, but to set that fast of a lap. I know you guys set such a blazing pace. This has been the fastest 150 laps at Daytona I've ever seen in my life, whether it's been racing or covering it. I'm blown away by it. It's just amazing that you guys can come out here and put on such a show.
Yeah, there's so many green flag laps. Yeah, I think the time I'm looking at is 2 hours and 3 minutes for 150 laps at Daytona. That's yeah, that's pretty insane.
That's absolutely unheard of, but I can already hear in my other ear I'm getting yelled at by your crew chief. He wants your ass down there in Victory Lane because they got some champagne bottles to pop. They got to throw sponsors on top of your car. I'm going to let you loose down there, let the celebration underway, and we'll see you next week at Atlanta.
All right, thank you guys.
All right. With that being said, that is the first race of the season for Mr. Shift Racing in the books. We're going to go through the official results here. And obviously, your winner is going to be Brian Johnson, who led the most important lap of all, the last lap, but he also had the fastest lap around here. So that's definitely a great achievement to have. Second place goes to the 94 of Curtis Young. Third place, 85 of the Professor, who, Alan, refresh me on his real name. Alan's broken, so there it is.
Oh, jeez.
It's Judd.
Judd Danielson.
Thank you. Fourth place goes to the number 4 of Jonathan Eason. Gary Sexton in the 17 brings it home 5th. Nick Crawford in the 8 car brings it home 6th. The number 1 of Charlie Sanborn, 7th. The 24 of Joe Owen brings it home 8th. The 45 of Carl Shedd, who we saw had contact with the outside wall but was able to bring it down pit road safely without bringing out another caution, is going to finish 9th. The number 14 of Gary Weston is going to round out your top 10 here. 11th place goes to the 7 of Jake Dorton. 12th place, the 10 car of Ken Richardson. 13th place goes to the number 3 of David May. Your 14th place finisher is the 22 car of Loose Out of 2, who we will get a name for eventually. The 15th place goes to the 88 of Noah Lewis. The 16th spot goes to the 101 of David Gainforth. 17th spot goes to the 50 of Howard Wendell. 18th goes to the 9 of Glenn Fetty. 19th place, the 70 of Stripper Glitter, who we will get a name for as well. As well as our top...
Mike Donahue or Kevin Fetty.
Yeah. That would either be one of the two. And then rounding out your top 20 is the 91. 21st, we have the 11 of Gren Meering. 22nd, Aiden Kohler Jr. 23rd, we have the 43 of Major, who we're going to work with TeamSpeak and with Mr. Shift to have the proper names put in there rather than nicknames, so we can properly call them out throughout the race and during grid and results. But once again, this is first week with Mr. Shift. It was an amazing race. We have a little bit of technical bugs to work out. We had the TeamSpeak crash happen, so obviously there's a few kinks in the armor that need to be wrinkled out, but we will have everything under control by the time we get to Atlanta next week. 24th place goes to the 48 of Ryan Steinecker. 25th is the 25 of William McMillian, and 26th spot goes to the 2 of Jonathan Wall. So that's going to do it for us here tonight at Daytona. Alan, you have any final words?
No, it was an amazing race. I'm looking forward to next week at Atlanta. We will get the bugs ironed out of our overlays and TeamSpeak before we come back on Tuesday of next week. It was a really good race.
I think really good race is the understatement of the century. That was, as I said, I think probably 5,000 times now. I've never seen a race that has gone green flag for so long. I've never seen such good car control, especially out of the A cars, on a fixed setup. And, I mean, you couldn't ask for more here, and hopefully it just carries along through all the remaining 26 races in the season. And, we do move on next week to Atlanta, where it's going to be definitely a rhythm track. It's going to be a lot more of a tire wear track. So we're definitely going to see the pace kind of change, but that's going to be expected, especially when we start heading into the shorter half-mile, three-quarter-mile tracks, and then the intermediate mile and a half. And then we've got Michigan with a 2-mile, Auto Club's a 2-mile track, but they both drive identical. So hopefully what we saw tonight at Daytona is going to carry through the rest of the season. But that's going to do it for us tonight here at Daytona International. One hell of a race in the books. I am so glad that we were able to sign on with this league, and I cannot wait to see what the rest of the season turns out to be like. I'm Art Peck for Alan Schoen. This has been DieHard Live TV. We will see you guys next week.